salutations, my dearest friends. My name is Samantha, and today I'm going to be doing a video where I read a novella every day for a whole month. 30 days, 30 books. Hello, how are you? Welcome or welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to be filming this video. And if you guys know anything about me, I love novellas. I love novellas. I'm a mood reader and I tend to get in reading slumps quite often, and sometimes reading a book that is like 500 to 700 pages, like a fantasy book, that is so daunting to me. I love having a really good novella where I get that romantic connection, maybe a little bit of steam, but it's like packaged in a cute little novella. Quick, easy, to the point. That is the challenge for this video. We will be reading one novella every single day, and I will be updating you guys. I'm filming this intro after I have completed the project, just because I wanted some time to like get my thoughts together and decide how I wanted to film this video, and I can say that this was one of the funnest projects I've done in a while. We'll be reading 30 books in this video, 30 novellas, and I will be giving star ratings as well as reviews and also recommendations for other novellas. So you will have a ton of novella content in this video. Of course, this video is going to be extremely long because we're talking about 30 plus books. I do have a playlist on my channel where I have more curated novella videos where I give recommendations for underrated novellas or novellas on Kindle Unlimited, so I will leave that link down below. If you're also looking for some amazing channels that have great recommendations when it comes to novellas, I would highly recommend Avery and Rachel, two of my really good friends here on BookTube. They are always reading novellas and they have some of the best recommendations, so I will leave their channels down below. I had some goals and some visions for this video. Number one rule was I had to read a novella a day, so 30 books. That was like the whole point of this video. Secondly, I wanted to pick a lot of books that were on Kindle Unlimited. Every book is on Kindle Unlimited, but I definitely wanted to pick new authors on Kindle Unlimited because it's a subscription that I use and I know you guys use a lot. It's pretty accessible, so I wanted to find just more authors on that platform. And then third, I wanted to discover some new to me authors. I didn't want to spend this whole month just reading authors that I've already read from. You will see authors that I've read from sprinkled throughout, like Casey Mint and Jessica Cain, some go-to authors that I kind of used to fill up some spaces in this month. I really did try to read from authors that I haven't read from before. Although they're new to me, obviously they're not new to everyone else. I'm sure a lot of these authors are very well loved and I just hadn't got around to their books. I tried to not pick like the same type of novella. Some monster romances, I read some age gap romances, I read some cozy mystery novellas. So yeah, I tried to keep it a little unique. I don't know. And I'll just start with all my update. Greetings and salutations, friends. It is day one. I realized a couple things. So number one, I'm going to try to keep these as short as possible. I'm just going to go over my ratings and the tropes and maybe like a little blurb. Because they're novellas and they're shorter, it's kind of easier to do very quick reviews, and I also don't want this video to be very long. Secondly, I'm probably going to be like a day behind. I'm not really going to be talking about books that I read that day, but books that I read the previous day. So right now I'm going to be talking about a book I read yesterday because I read mainly before bed. So it's like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 4 o'clock in the morning, and I am reading on my Kindle in my pajamas, probably with a face mask on. So will not be filming at that time. So I just got home from work and I'm literally sweating right now. My makeup is just pouring down my face. Pray for me. It is September 1st. Everyone's all about that pumpkin spice life and everything nice, and I am too. I am right on board, but it is also 114 degrees right now. 114 degrees where I live. It is painful. It is. We're going to be talking about the novella that I read last night, and it was okay. I gave it 3 stars. To start strong with like a 5-star book, but it was just a 3-star read-in. I did like it. It just wasn't like my favorite novella ever. So the one that I read is called 2 Scoops of Hellfire by Kimberly Lemming. This is a monster demon romance. This takes place during the pandemic and it is very short, only like 40 to 50 pages. You can get through it very quickly. It is also available on Kindle Unlimited. Heroine is at home because of the pandemic and she's trying to teach herself how to bake cupcakes, but she's a horrible baker and somehow she ends up summoning a demon. Like baking gone wrong. Instead of making chocolate chip cookies, she summons a whole ass demon, and it follows their romance. If you are someone who does not like insta love, this is just not the novella for you, because the second that they meet each other, they're like naked in the shower together. It is a very quick romance, very over the top possessive hero. I mean, he's a literal demon. Now, this is a very weird analogy, but stay with me. So you know how sometimes like in the newer Disney movies, they have like Disney shorts and like a short clip will play like right before the movie, but it's like completely unrelated to the movie. It's just like, it's a Disney short. Like they have Olaf ones, Frozen ones. It's just like cute little shorts before the actual movie. That's what this felt like. It felt like a cute little meet cute insta love situation. Really nothing to complain about this novella other than the fact that it just didn't have much substance. This was honestly like a very quick smutty time, a fun romp in the woods, if you will. All right, love you guys. That's my update. I will see you tomorrow. Okay, I know I said this was gonna be quick, but it's totally not. Love this lip color. It's like this cool tone pink, and I think it's just so pretty. It's MAC. It's a matte lipstick. It's called Meher, M-E-H-R. So stinking pretty. It is day 2, my friends. Another day of me filming after work and my makeup melting off my face. My lip of the day is a ColourPop lip color. It's called the Glowing Lip in the shade Indulge Me. And it's like this really pretty nude and I love it. It's super pretty. Anyways, the novella that I read last night is called The Witch and the Bear by Maura Scott. It's titled as a paranormal women's weekend, and this is a Sapphic romance, which you know I fucking love. It's a supernatural, paranormal, fated maid Sapphic romance, I guess. So basically, it's also friends to lovers, which is a favorite trope of mine. So our heroines have been friends for decades, and they always go on like this annual cabin retreat with a bunch of their other friends, and they're all like different supernatural entities. Like there's a dragon shifter, there's a werewolf, there's a vampire, but our two heroines, one of our heroines is a bear shifter and the other is a witch. And they've always kind of liked each other, but they've never wanted to ruin their friendship, and they've been in different relationships. And our heroines are coming out of like separate divorces, and they decide to just go for it. They decide to spend the weekend kind of exploring their relationship and if it will work for them. And let me tell you, it does. It works for them. So steamy. There's toys and just sexual tension and like fun times, fun times. And there's a couple like side romances in this book as well. Like some of their other friends are also like in a romance, and you get to see that kind of unfold. And it was actually really good for such a short book. I feel like you got to see like 3 different relationships unfold. It was written so well, and it was short and sweet and to the point and steamy. Everything I would want in like a paranormal Sapphic romance. You know, I would definitely recommend this if you were looking for something to read that's like a paranormal romance, Sapphic romance, novella. Like this one, it was solid. I'm gonna give it 4 stars. The only reason I'm not giving it a 5-star is because honestly, it could have been a little longer. I'm not going to say that with every novella, I promise. Like, I understand novellas are supposed to be short, but like they really did give us like 3 completely separate relationships. Although I do think like it was done well. It was fun to see all the side characters. I think it would have been better if they all got their own novellas and it was like a connected novella series, if that makes sense. That's just how I feel. I don't think we got enough time with our couple, and like I loved them. The friends to lovers vibe, the chemistry, the stream, everything about it was so great. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. We'll see what we read tomorrow. Guys, I need to film this at the beginning of the day because at the end of the day I look like a sweaty mess. It's Labor Day weekend and it is literally 110 degrees outside, and I am very hot. We read Little Slice of Hell by Cleo Evans. This is the first book in the Creature Cafe novella series, and I did not like this book. I didn't like it, and I'm devastated. I gave this book 2 stars, which is a pretty low rating for a novella for me. Something about the couple and like the kinks, it just wasn't vibing with me personally. I don't know, because the actual premise of the book sounds so cool. So the entire series, it's a set of novellas that follow this cafe. So it is like a supernatural cafe where everyone goes and they meet with this barista who matches them to their fated mate. So it's like a little Cupid situation, and I just think that premise is so cute, of all these like supernatural creatures gathering together in a cafe to get set up on blind dates to find their fated mate. And I love that, but I just didn't love this particular book. I have seen this book recommended to me on Kindle Unlimited like so many times. Male romance. One of our heroes is an incubus, like that demon that's like a sex demon. I think it's pronounced incubus, but now I'm realizing I've only read that word. I've never heard it or said it out loud, so I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but he's looking for his fated mate, and he ends up finding a human who is interested in like dating a supernatural creature because he's more interested in like BDSM. I think the reason I didn't vibe with this one so much was because one of our heroes was sexually assaulted, so there is trigger warnings for that in this book, and because of that trauma, he seeks out relationships where he can be more submissive and he kind of like gets off on pain. And I feel like for that to work, I just need more. I need it to be more than just smut, if that makes sense. Like I didn't get a very emotional connection with our characters, and like by page 10 they were already professing their love to each other. Also, there was like this one scene, I'm trying not to spoil anything, but there was this one scene where they were having sex and like the other hero basically like pierces the other hero's junk, and I'm just like thinking how painful it was because it was like literally in the middle of them having sex. I'm never here to yuck someone's yum. Like if you feel like this is a book for you, give it a try. It's really not that many pages. Although I didn't love it, I am very intrigued by the actual series. So far we've had a 3-star, 4-star, and now a 2-star. So hopefully we'll get that 5-star novella. Greetings and salutations, my dearest friends. It is a couple of days later. Today is September 6th. So I have not updated you in 3 days, but I have continued my novella diet of reading a novella a day. So I'm still with it, I'm still going. I'm just gonna do like a quick wrapping up the last 3 days. Sorry that I haven't updated you. I might do this where I like just wrap a couple up in like one clip instead of like 30 different clips. I ended up reading 3 novellas in the past couple days and they were all great. I highly recommend all of them. The first one I want to talk about is another novella by Cleo Evans, and Cleo Evans? Yeah, Cleo Evans. I'm so excited that I read another book by this author because I knew I was gonna like them. I knew a lot of the synopsises and blurbs and just the writing style. Like I knew this was gonna be a good novella author. I think I just picked like the wrong first one. I didn't like that first book. This one, I decided to switch gears and read a book from one of their other series. So this is from their Warts and Claws Inc. series, and the one that I read is Not So Kind Regards. And I think this is connected loosely to the other series because one of the heroines in this book is the daughter of the succubus in the other book. So this book is a little longer than your typical novella. It's 188 pages. I'm still counting it as a novella because it's under 200 pages, but normally it is a little longer than I would read for a novella, and it is a office romance, and it's poly. The premise of this book is so cute. So like I said, it's an office romance, and it's kind of like these legal offices. Like one floor is the monster's office and the second floor is the witch's office, and they kind of have like an office feud going on. They play pranks on each other. They're always trying to like outmatch each other, and you know, just office shenanigans. And the boss of the monsters is the incubus. It's a female boss, and the boss of the witches is a male witch, and they just don't get along. Definite enemies to lovers vibe, but they both are in love with a witch who works in the office building who is their fated mate. So it forms a polyamorous situation. Loved the dynamic of this book so much because we have a dominant heroine, and something about that I just love. I love a submissive hero, dominant heroine. I love it. So we have our dominant heroine, then we have the boss who is a switch, so meaning that he can both be dominant and submissive, and then we have our submissive hero who is actually an omega. So we're throwing in some omega verse in there as well. Absolutely adored it. He ends up going in heat as omegas do, and the bosses kind of have to like take care of him and realize that he's their fated mate. So fun office supernatural romance. I feel like I didn't describe that really well. 4.5. We're gonna give it 4.5. I will definitely read more from this author. All right, the next 2 novellas I finally caved, and I read some Casey Mint. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. She's my favorite novella author, and the thing is like I tried really hard not to read her books in this video because I know like I already love her and I'm trying to find new novella authors, but sometimes you just need a comfort read, and Casey Mint is my everything. I love her. She's my favorite novella author. First one is Dirty Rocker, which is actually part of a series, like a rock star novella series that a bunch of other authors have contributed into, like age gap romance. Our heroine ends up reconnecting with her dad. She's never had a relationship with her dad before, but she finds out that her dad is a famous rock star, and she ends up going on tour with him, but her dad is just awful. Like, he is awful, and she ends up connecting with her dad's best friend, the guitarist of, or does he play the bass? I don't know what he plays. He plays some instrument. He is a part of this really popular like gritty rock band, and they end up falling in love while she's on tour with them and forming a romance. It's an age gap romance, forbidden romance, because he's her dad's best friend and he's like 20 years older than her, but like This book is perfect. This book is perfect. 5 stars. The angst, the tension, the praise kink, good girl energy, all of the way through this novella. Loved it so much. The way Casey Mint writes her heroes, how they are just obsessed with our heroines and how they adore them and treat them like absolute princesses and queens like they are. 5 stars. The next one I loved equally as much, and that is Silver Fox. And this one is another office romance. Heroine is the secretary to this tycoon, billionaire. He got shmoney, and he's like very gruff. Again, another gruff stoic hero. He's a complete businessman. He is cold. He is ruthless to everyone but our heroine. He cherishes our heroine, okay? So they have been working together for a long time, but neither one of them want to create this weird dynamic at work, but they are so hopelessly, madly, deeply in love with each other. So they explore that romance with each other, and it's an office age gap romance. He's a little bit older than her. So has a praise kink, baby girl energy, good girl energy. If that's your vibe, read this right now. That's my updates. Oh, also, by the way, my lip of the day, I am wearing a lip liner from Naughty Cosmetics. This is in the shade Cafe, and then I am wearing a matte lipstick from MAC, and this is in the shade Taupe. That's my lip of the day. All right, I love you guys. I will see you in my next update. And salutations, my dearest friends. It is day 7, which means we have done a whole week of novellas, which I'm kind of proud of myself for. I wasn't sure if I was going to make it past day 3 because I do read novellas pretty much every day, but like I'm a mood reader, so when I have to do something, even if it's for my own video, my own idea, I don't want to do it. I took one for the team this day, and I read Property of Pops by Jessica Kane. I literally have been concerned for Jessica Kane for a very long time. I've talked about it a little bit on my channel. Her books are absolutely deranged. Most recent development was that she came out with this novella right here, which is a grandpa romance. Grandpa. He's a literal grandfather. She is 21 and he is 63. Hold on. Is he that old? 63. 63. He is 42 years older than her. Our heroine is a young virgin heroine, as is the norm when it comes to Jessica Kane novellas, and she's going on vacation, a free paid vacation with her best friend. It's like a family reunion, which, by the way, like, who invites their friend to a family reunion? That like defeats the actual name of it, family. Well, I guess she became family. Anyways, she goes to her friend to her family reunion, and there she meets her grandpa, who is like this hot shot military general. He just retired from the military. He's like this gruff stoic hero that of course has like 6-pack abs and everyone is drooling over, and they end up forming a connection. This definitely has like a baby girl daddy dom situation, which Jessica Kane has dabbled in a little bit. She always has like a zaddy kink in her books, but this is like baby girl, like little girl, like very fetishy, you know what I mean? And I just could not hop on board. So surprise, no surprise, this is 1 star because it's bonkers crazy and a little weird. Here's the thing, if I like pretended for like a second this was like a normal age gap and he wasn't a grandfather and he wasn't 63 years old, the book would have been fine. It was steamy, it was campy, it was kind of everything Jessica Kane is known for, and he wasn't as toxic as some of her other heroes. I will give him that. Maybe, you know, age gains experience, who knows. Yeah, he wasn't as toxic, but it just got weird like towards the end. Like there was a moment where she was like sucking her thumb like a little baby, and I'm just like, this is the part where I question my entire existence. So yeah, I took one for the team. You really do not need to read this. 1 star. Highly, highly do not recommend. Will I continue to read Jessica Kane? Yes, I will. Yes, I will. There's something addicting about her books that now, okay, so originally I enjoyed them. I loved them. I thought they were great. And now I almost give all of her books 1 star, but it's like a train wreck. Like, you can't look away. I need to, like, experience the craziness because she gets more and more deranged. And when I'm reading it, I'm just like, how? Some people are enjoying this because there are high ratings on Goodreads. Miss Lacey from Lacey Book Lovers. I'm gonna call her out real quick. She gave it 4 stars. I literally texted her and I was like, Lacey, we need to talk. We need to go to therapy, like book therapy after this book. All right, I'm done. 1 star. I cannot believe I read this. I'm a little horrified. Greetings and salutations, my dearest friends. I'm doing a little wrap up. I've read 3 novellas since I last talked to you, so I wanted to go ahead and chat about them. I loved all of them so much. I gave them all 5 stars and I'm just thrilled. Like we're on a great ride. 3 books. Today is the 11th and we've read 3 books since I last talked to you. The first one is Reversing a Rivalry by Kit Kennedy. This is described as a contemporary Omegaverse, meaning it is an Omegaverse world, but they're not shifters. Holy mackerel, I loved this book with my whole heart and soul. My whole heart and soul. It only has 21 ratings on Goodreads, which is a crime and a half. Like, it is so criminal that people are not talking about this book. If you don't know what Omegaverse is, I'm not going to explain it too deep right now because I have a whole video on it and I talk about it a lot, so I'll leave a link down below where I explain what Omegaverse is. So in this book, it's kind of interesting because our characters are in an existing relationship, if that makes sense. So the book opens up and our hero, who is an Omega, is in heat and he's going through that heat with his alpha. Already in a relationship in this book, which is so interesting because with most romances, they meet and they become in a relationship like in the book. But no, it's an existing relationship. Our hero lives with a rival clan. There is these 2 kind of like shifter Omegaverse families that don't really get along and they've always had a rivalry. So in order to like have a peace, his dad sent him to this rival clan as kind of like a peace offering so that he can be their ward and under their guardianship until the time that he turns 18, presents as an alpha, and then comes back and rules their little clan. It's counting on him to be this great almighty alpha and to really keep the peace between these 2 rival families, and it turns out that he is not an alpha at all. He is an Omega, which means he can't lead the pack, and he has been hiding who he is and what he is for years and years and years. His father passes away and he has to tell everyone that he's not an alpha, and he's terrified that he cannot be with his actual alpha, the love of his life, his soulmates, because of the fact they come from rival families. So they're trying to figure out how to navigate this new world. There's no internal conflict that is keeping our characters apart from each other, like miscommunication or anything like that. It's all external conflict, everything going on around them, people not approving of the relationship, but they're just like soulmates. Like our characters are literal soulmates and they do everything and anything to stay with each other. It is so cute. Like, okay, next, another book I fucking loved. Crybaby by Marina Vivancos. Again, only 806 ratings on Goodreads. A crime. This is another male-male romance, a friends to lovers romance. So both of our heroes are friends. They met at work and they're best friends. They do absolutely everything together. And one of our heroes discovers a new kink and he realizes that he kind of like gets off on people crying, but not like degradation or pain or BDSM, just like soft, like a tears of being overwhelmed with passion and pleasure. And he's kind of like grappling with this new thing, and then his best friend is recently kind of like out of the closet, never really been with a guy before, and is kind of nervous about that. His friend ends up propositioning him because he trusts him so much and they already have that friendship. So it's like a friends with benefits situation that turns into real feelings, and it is so stinking sweet. Read it, please. If you love friends to lovers, you would really like this one. I accidentally deleted the last clip, or part of the last clip. My dog wants to sit on my lap. So I kind of left off on talking about that book from Mariana Vivancos, and what I was talking about in that video was that I love Mariana Vivancos with like my entire heart, soul, and body. I love her. I love her. Like, I cannot believe I had never read her novellas before because she is glorious. So after I read that first one, Crybaby, I read 1, 2, 3 more from this author. What are you doing right now? Can I talk about these books? Please and thank you. Let me update you on the clip that I fucking deleted. Okay, so the one that I read after that one was I've Walked Where You've Been. Fucking 5 stars. I loved it so much. So in this world, soulmates exist. People genuinely find their soulmates. It's not like a shifter or paranormal romance, like it's one of those situations like when you meet the person that's your soulmate, you instantly know, and most people get matched to their soulmate when they're a little bit older, from like anywhere between 16 and 25. Well, our characters matched with each other when they're 9 years old. They're babies, they're children, and they instantly get thrown into this very intense connection where they can read each other's minds, they can feel each other's feelings, and they have to be in constant contact with each other. They have to go to the same school and do all the same things because they can't go a long time without being in contact with each other, or they get what they call bondmate sickness, where they get physically ill from being separated from like their other half. It's a very intense connection, and they hate it. They grow to despise it because our characters are so young. They don't know how to handle this. There's no way for them to navigate it. And also they're polar opposites. Like one of our heroes, oh, this is a male-male romance. One of our heroes is this insanely athletic, outgoing, energetic, like golden retriever energy. And the other hero is very shy and introverted and like bookish, smart, if that makes sense, very intelligent. So polar opposites. So they grow to hate each other, and as they're growing up, they're kind of shitty to each other. They don't treat each other with the most respect that most bondmates do. And finally, they reach an age when they're in high school, going into college, and they decide, or they realize, we're not getting rid of each other. Like, we are literally stuck together for life. Let's find out why fate put us together. This author is magnificent. Magnificent, that's all I'm gonna say. So the next one, or the third one that I read by the same author, Mariana Vivancos, it's I've Been Careless with a Delicate Thing, another male-male romance. Characters, they have mutual friends, but they end up meeting at a club and they end up forming a romance. One of our heroes is like the stoic hero. He's very muscular, he's very tall, and a lot of people, because of his appearances, expect him to be the dominant one and expect him to top and be more dominant in the relationship, but secretly he's always been a little bit more submissive. So he ends up meeting our hero, who's kind of like a soft dom. He really just enjoys taking care of other people and like building that connection, and neither of them have really realized that that's the type of kink that they enjoy. So it starts with it starts as a friends to benefit situation, but then it slowly forms into this very beautiful connection, like I said, like a soft dom, soft submissive book. And it was so beautiful to see our characters like seamlessly fall in love with each other, but also realize that the things that they desire the most are fine. It's not embarrassing, it's not demoralizing. Like, this is something that makes them them, and they have someone to love them and cherish them. Oh my god, this author never misses. It's crazy. This one, 4 stars. The only reason I gave this one 4 stars rather than 5 stars like the rest was because I just feel like our characters were too stubborn. I feel like they could have gotten together a lot sooner. There was the miscommunication trope in this one, which I didn't love. I still loved it so much. Like, it just, I liked some of her other books a little bit more than this one, but I still loved it a lot. A lot. Okay, the next one, holy mackerel. This one, oh, was this my favorite? I don't know if this one was my favorite. It's probably my favorite because it was so beautiful. I cried, sobbed when I was reading this book. This one is called Divine River. Same author, Mariana Vivancos. I really hope I'm not butchering her name. This one is kind of also a friends to lovers romance. So one of our heroes has lived in this small town for the very longest time. I cannot talk today. And a new guy moves right across from him, so it's his new neighbor, and they end up becoming friends. They go out fishing together, they cook dinner together, and then they like simultaneously fall in love. Like I said, this is a male-male romance. One of our heroes is gay, and then the other identifies as bisexual. But one of our heroes in this book is also kind of grappling with his identity and how he wants to be perceived to the world. Not necessarily like his pronouns. He does identify as a man in this book, but he also enjoys being both masculine and feminine, and that is not something that he's been able to experiment or even understand because his family, or his father rather, is very homophobic and has always made fun of him and not really allowed him to explore those sides of him. A lot of anxiety, and he is scared to come out to his family and to his friends, so he's always been hiding this feminine part of himself and not truly being himself. So when he meets our hero, he falls in love and allows himself to actually be happy and to just break down like the social construct and how the world perceives him and how the world perceives like what a man is supposed to be like, you know, masculine and buff. And he just realizes that he's him and he likes dressing in nice dresses, but he also really likes being masculine at the same time. And it's just like this really beautiful blend of him discovering himself, and I feel like I'm not doing it justice, but you can tell that the author did this with so much love and care. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful to see our character, like, it will make me cry just talking about it, but to see our character, like, finally find happiness after years of trauma from his, you know, father or from society. It's just like, oh, so fucking beautiful. Last one. I feel like I just crammed all the books in here. So the next one I read was by Casey Mint. So Casey Mint is an author that I already love. Came out with a new one. It's called His Muse. This is an extension of some of her other rock star books that I've already talked about in this video. And in this book, it follows a songwriter, this billionaire songwriter who is obsessed with her heroine. He's obsessed with her. She goes on tour with a rock band, and like she does like the merchandise, and she's kind of like a roadie. She like helps carry the equipment and all that stuff, and she works for this rock band over the summer, and the songwriter is writing songs for this specific rock band, and that's where they meet. And it is a stalker romance. So all summer long while she's working with this rock band, he does not talk to her. He kind of just watches her from a distance, and he falls in love with her, and she like preens off of his attention. So it is a stalker romance. But it's kind of cute. It's kind of cute. He ends up following her to his or her hometown, and they end up forming a relationship once they get back home. And yeah, so it's like a light stalker, cozy romance, if that makes sense. I gave this one 4 stars only because most of the book is really of him like just watching her and like taking care of her without her realizing it. It's very little spent of them actually together. Not my favorite Casey Mint, but I still loved it because it is Casey Mint, because I just love her writing. So, and I cannot wait to see what else we read, and I will catch you guys up on my next clip because I feel like I've been talking a lot already. So goodbye. Greetings and salutations, my dearest friends. I am here to wrap up the next 3 novellas that I read in the past 3 days. Novellas that I read all were Sapphic romances. I don't know why I keep like bundling them up in themes. Like I did a bunch of monster romances and then Casey Mint novellas, and now we read a couple of Sapphic romances. So the first one that I read is called How to Get a Girlfriend When You're a Terrifying Monster, and this one was by Marie Cardno. I don't pronounce that last name, I'm sorry. I hated this one. I hated it. Oh, I hated it. I gave it 2 stars. The only reason I didn't give it 1 star was because it wasn't the worst thing I ever read. It just wasn't, it didn't give what it needed to give. So basically, it follows our 2 heroines. One of our heroines comes from this other dimension called the Endless, which is basically sounding like a version of Purgatory, where this large monster exists and consumes everything in its path, and all that it wants to do is go to other dimensions and consume what is in its past. And what's interesting about this dimension is that all of it is a part of this large entity called the Endless. So one of our heroines is able to break apart from the Endless and become her own conscious being. And she develops her own wants, feelings, personality, appearance. She's able to change her appearance. And our other heroine is a scientist who is traveling to the Endless to discover more about this unknown dimension, because this dimension in particular has wreaked havoc on Earth numerous times and has almost wiped out the population numerous times. So they're trying to figure out more about it, and she ends up going into the Endless and getting stuck there. So our other heroine, who was a part of the Endless and now is her own like cognitive being, meets her and falls in love with her and helps her get out of that situation. The thing is it was just so much world building for such a short book. Like it was only like 90 to 100 pages, and I feel like the author couldn't decide if it wanted to be a fantasy where it was more focused on the world building and this dimension called the Endless, or did it want to be a romance of 2 people from completely different dimensions and worlds finding common ground and falling in love. I don't feel like it did either of those things very well. The way that it wrapped up was so like, I just was disappointed. You know what I mean? It felt unfinished and I did not like it. So unfortunately I had to give that one a 2 star because I don't feel like it was a good fantasy, and it also wasn't a good romance. So I'm just like, I don't really know what it was trying to do. I'm very sorry. The cover is really cute though. Complete opposite, I loved, thank goodness, and that is So Much More by Isabel Hansen. And this is a Sapphic best best friend's little sister romance. Heroines actually meet because one of our heroines punches the other in the face. Not on purpose. They're walking in like a really crowded area and she accidentally punches her, she falls, and she breaks her arm. So disastrous meeting. Horrible for punching them in the face. So she takes her to the hospital and drives her back home. And once she drives her back home, she realizes they actually know each other. One of our characters has a roommate and it's her best friend. And it turns out that the girl who punched her in the face, that's her roommate's little sister. So kind of a little bit of a forbidden romance. So yeah, it is a best friend's little sister romance. And they also end up getting snowed in at this apartment. So forced proximity, one bed, so many tropes kind of thrown in here. Loved it so much. I thought that the characters were so cute together and I feel like it was the perfect amount of spice. The ending was satisfying. Everything about it was great and I would love to read more by Isabel Hansen. This one is called Don't Say I Do by Ivy Whitaker and this is described as a friends to lovers novella. So this one is very interesting because it follows our heroine who is about to get married to a man. Okay, she's about to get married. It is the day before her wedding and her maid of honor is freaking out because she has not written a maid of honor speech yet. So she's in her room and she's freaking out. She's figuring out how to make this speech. She's reminiscing in all of these memories that they've had together. And as she's writing this speech, she realizes that she is madly, deeply, uncontrollably in love with her best friend who's about to get married. So, of course, she knocks on her best friend's door to just like unleash those feelings and it turns out that her best friend also is madly, deeply crazy in love with her. I don't want to give too many spoilers because it is a novella. This one was very cute because it toggled back and forth between past and present. It showed them like falling in love like when they were young and becoming best friends and always being there for each other into like growing into adulthood and how their feelings kind of panned out now. This technically does have a cheating trope to it because again our heroine is engaged to be married, but I thought it was really cute and I loved it a lot. I would give this one 4 stars. The only reason I didn't give it 5 stars was because the beginning was kind of slow. Like it really was slow, maybe because it was giving us that backstory, but our characters spent a lot of time apart in this novella. Like you didn't really get a lot of them together until the end, but it was still really sweet and spicy and wonderful. The representation in this book, one of our heroine identifies as a lesbian and the other identifies as pansexual, so it was really nice to read about that. And yeah, those are the 3 novellas that I read. We had a 2-star, a 4-star, and a 5-star. So looking pretty good and I will update you guys in my next clip. Hey guys, I look a little weird. What is this hair doing? Because I'm sitting in my bed not wearing any makeup. Just haven't been feeling well these past couple days, so I didn't want to like put on makeup and like my whole filming setup. So we're just gonna do this little update in bed. Read 2 novellas since I last talked to you. I had to read my cozy mystery book for my cozy mystery book club and I was just in a cozy mystery mood. I have like a hair right here. Oh my goodness gracious, I'm a mess. I was in a cozy mystery mood. So we read 2 cozy mysteries and they were just okay. So let me talk about them. Well, the first one I actually really didn't like. This one I read is called Pumpkin Spice and a Body on Ice. It's the first cozy mystery novella in the Dixie Cup Diner mystery series. Goodness gracious, I hated this one. I gave it a 1 star, I'll say off the bat. So our heroine owns a restaurant. It's a diner, but I think she specializes in her baked goods. She runs this little shop with her best friend and they have like baking competitions in this very small town every year and she's like notorious for like her blue velvet cupcakes, blue velvet muffins, and she always wins. This year the new cop in town is like a huge health nut and he gets voted to be the judge for the competition, so she's freaking out. She has to figure out what the heck she's gonna make that's healthy and tastes good, and bum bum bum, there's a murder. So one of the people who's competing in this competition is found dead. So they have to figure out who did it. Her best friend is kind of a suspect, so she kind of has to like clear her friend's name as well as figure out how she's going to win this competition. The reason I hated this book so much was I just thought the commentary was gross. I understand that there are going to be unlikable characters in some cozy mysteries, but it was just really disheartening to see the commentary in this book. Body positivity in this book was horrible. It was awful. So our heroine is plus sized and the way that she talks about her weight and her food is so like just not the best. There were so many times in this book where she was basically judging her friends for losing weight. One of the girls in this town like owns like a yoga shop, and she wears like matching workout clothes every day, and the girl was saying like how annoying that is and how this girl always looks so perfect and she's so dumb, and like just really gross commentary that I didn't appreciate, and it kind of took away from the murder. And then I'm not going to tell you who the murderer was, but it was such like a bizarre plot twist that didn't make any sense. It tried to be like overly humorous, and it wasn't really funny because all of the jokes were about people's weight or people's looks, and it was just gross. So yeah, 1 star, would not recommend whatsoever. The second novella is Pumpkin Pie and Murder. This is the 9th book in the Sweet Treats mystery series. So our heroine also owns, I think, an ice cream shop, maybe a bakery, and she is participating in a pirate festival in her town. At the same time that this festival is going on, there's like a huge like MMA fight going on. 2 boxers who have had a little bit of a rivalry. One of the boxers ends up getting found dead in front of the pirate festival, and the autopsy shows that he was beaten to death. So immediately the rival MMA fighter is the one who's arrested, but our heroine kind of knows that he didn't do it, so she wants to clear his name, so she kind of like gets involved and ends up trying to clear his name as well as work this pirate festival. This one was okay. I mean, it was 9th in a series, so I definitely felt like I was missing some information. A lot of side characters were being mentioned that I hadn't really been introduced from. This one was kind of interesting because our heroine is dating the local cop, so the cop has like different connections that he can use to discover who the murderer is. The only thing that I found really weird is that like the cop would take his girlfriend with him to like crime scenes and like basically like have her be a detective as well, which I don't think you can do that. But yeah, I don't really, it doesn't feel like amateur sleuthing when you're literally like at the crime scene with another detective. You know what I mean? But I mean, it was fine. It was cozy. There was pumpkin ice cream and pumpkin pie. And I gave 3 stars. It was okay if you want to start like a cozy mystery novella series. I do think this one was interesting. Wasn't my favorite, and I'm still on the look for a good cozy mystery novella. So that's my update. I will talk to you guys later. Greetings and salutations. I am here for my next novella update. I have 3 novellas to talk about, and they are all within a series. It's the Sweet Hate series by Christina C. Jones. So these were all on Kindle Unlimited. The first one was Hints of Spice, and I gave it 5 stars because I loved it. This is a single parent romance. So our heroine is a single mom, and she ends up buying her first house, and she hires a landscaping company, and our hero owns that landscaping company. So he ends up showing out her house and kind of helping her decorate the front of her yard, but they have a very like instant chemistry. Earl was a little bit of a playboy. He is, but he's so smooth and sexy and sweet, and this one was phenomenal. I also loved our heroine so much, how open she was about her sexuality, and just this book was so well written. I absolutely adored it. 5 stars. Because I loved it so much, I immediately read the next one, and that is A Dash of Heat. This whole series, by the way, follows a set of siblings, the siblings that own that landscaping company I mentioned in the first book. She's going through a rough time. She's going through a breakup. She thought that a relationship was much more than it was, and it ended up being kind of just like a hookup situation. The guy completely played her, so she's a little bit heartbroken, and she ends up finding comfort at this food stall that sells the most delicious beignets and different types of food. Hero is the owner of this food stall, and he is opening up his own restaurant, and he immediately wants to like wine and dine and just like take our heroine out, but she is so jaded from like her previous relationship. It definitely builds her trust. This kind of starts as a friends to lovers situation, and then it forms their romance. I gave this one 4 stars. The only reason I gave it 4 stars is because our heroine was kind of annoying. She was kind of annoying. She's actually kind of very judgmental. She comes from a very conservative background that is steeped in purity culture. I see that in the book, but she's very judgmental of our heroine in the first book, which I did not love. And it takes a while for our heroine to get some kind of redemption. It was incredibly sweet, steamy. The hero the hero was the saving grace. He was smooth and I loved him. 4 stars. Next one is the last one, and that's A Touch of Sugar, and it's a Christmas themed novella. So our heroine is going through a breakup, and she's kind of like having a hard time, and she decides that she wants to have a real Christmas tree for Christmas. She's going through this tough breakup and she wants to enjoy Christmas, so she ends up going to like literally chop a real Christmas tree and kind of breaches into our hero's yard, like it is literally his property, and gets stuck in a snowstorm. Now she has to stay with him until the snowstorm passes, so it's definitely a forced proximity, one bed trope. It's great. Our hero is like the stoic, gruff hero who is a widow, so he's also grieving the loss of his ex-wife, and they have like a fun, steamy Christmas time together. It's such a cute holiday romance. I highly recommend it. 5 stars. I will update you guys on the next day. We're kind of almost done, or we're like, I can see the end. I can see the end. We literally have been reading a novella every day. That is so cool. Okay, I'll talk to you later. I read another novella, and it was Grizzly Beard by Casey Ment, which is the first book in the Mail Order Mountain series. So this is a Mail Order Bride novella series. You guys know Casey Ment is like my go-to. I'm so sorry I'm reading so many of her books in this video, but I just love her to pieces. So anyways, our heroine ends up becoming a mail order bride. She answers an ad in the mail and decides to marry this big old gruff mountain man, but she gets lost. There's a storm and she ends up at the wrong cabin. The person that she's been writing letters to, yeah, not the guy that she ends up knocking on their door. So she ends up knocking on the door of the mountain ranger. Like he's some kind of like ranger person there who like saves people during storms and like if their car's stuck, you know. Anyways, this is gruff stoic hero. It's definitely a grumpy sunshine romance for sure, and he agrees to take her to the other side of the mountain where she's supposed to be, but on their way they get stuck in a storm. So it's a forced proximity trope. They end up falling for each other and having feelings for each other even though she's like engaged to someone else. So this one is so good. I gave it 5 stars. Cannot wait to read the second book in this little novella series. That's my update for today. Hello. I have 2 novellas to chat about with you guys today, just to catch you up on what I've been reading. I picked up an anthology. This one is called Bound by the Monster, and it's described as a monster erotica anthology, and a lot of different authors contributed into it. There's Evangeline Priest, Atlas Rose, Cleo Evans, but the reason I picked this one up is because Siemnes Costa has a short novella in this book, and I just skipped right to hers because I love her. I will read anything Siemnes Costa writes. So I'm just going to talk about hers, and maybe I'll finish the anthology later, but I'm counting this as a novella because I read her whole story. And this one is a stepbrother romance. I hate that trope. Like, I literally despise that trope. Why did I read it? Because it was Siemnes Costa, okay? Because it was Siemnes Costa. So this is also a monster romance. Our hero is a dragon and our heroine is a human. She goes to a wedding. It's like one of her step-siblings' weddings, and she doesn't know all of her step-siblings. She has like 20 of them because her mother remarried and she hasn't met all of them. So she is slowly starting to meet them at this wedding, and she's bored. She decides that she wants to have like a wedding one-night stand hook up with a random stranger, and she forms this like chemistry with this dragon shifter who happens to be her stepbrother. She doesn't realize it at first, and then once they realize it, they kind of like lean into that kink. So it's definitely more smut than anything else. If any other author wrote this, I probably would have given it 1 star, but because it was Siemnes Costa, I'm gonna give it 3 stars. It was steamy, it was wild. It was a time. It was something. Anyways, so the next one that I read is Fangs and Forever by Mink. This is a vampire romance available on Kindle Unlimited. Our hero is a vampire and our heroine is a vampire hunter. So she ends up showing up at his old Victorian house trying to kill him, but it turns out that they're fated mates, and like obviously she can't kill him because he's sexy. So perfect sense, right? Anyways, I gave this one 3 stars. Not my favorite novella ever, but I do like Mink because her books are just like short, steamy, to the point. And salutations. I just got off work. My makeup's a mess. I'm a mess. Life is a mess. It's been going on. My brother got sick. A lot is going on with my job. Like I said, my camera broke. It was just like my car broke. Everything was so busy. I tried to dye my hair red. Didn't work out. So let's update you guys on the books. So the first one I want to talk about is another novella from Bound by the Monster. This is a monster anthology, and the one that I read was by Evangeline Priest. This one was so good because it was a romance with a Naga, I think is how you pronounce it, N-A-G-A, which is basically like a half human, half serpent type of monster, and he definitely does shift, and he's almost kind of like royalty, and our heroine sells her tears. Like she will basically, monsters will drink her tears of happiness and sadness and joy, and this particular monster drinks her tears of fear. They're paying like a ridiculous amount of money to meet her in person, and they end up forming a relationship. Toys with BDSM, consensual non-consent, and breath play, and it was so good. Like, I actually really loved this one, so I'm gonna give it 5 stars. Solid monster romance, especially if you like something a little bit more unique, because I don't think I've ever read one with a snake shifter before. So to make that sexy, because snakes are very scary, I'm gonna give it like a 5 star. I thought it was great for a novella. The next one that I read was Foosball Daddies by Golden Angel. Okay, I have read so many novellas or books by Golden Angel. I used to read her long time ago. She's been writing for a very long time, and her books are pure smut, BDSM mainly, and she's kind of like had a rebrand. A lot of her older books she's releasing with new covers and new publishers, and she's doing a lot of different novellas. So this one is called Foosball Daddies. First of all, the illustrated cover, like, this is again pure smut, so the illustrated cover just like cracks me up, but it is a polyamorous romance, which is why I picked it up. Also like a second chance romance. So our heroine is a reporter, and she gets assigned to do like a sports news journalism article about this professional foosball player, like American foosball, like the table foosball, you know what I mean? In this book, it is become like an actual like Olympic sport. So our hero is a model slash foosball player. She's been in a relationship, but their careers kind of took them different paths. So she is there to interview him, and his best friend is the one who kind of like set it up and like reached out specifically to her to do the interview, because he's trying to get them back together, because the best friend was like a third in the relationship. So they kind of form a polyamorous relationship. It's a baby girl daddy dom situation, which is not my favorite kink. So to be fair, I don't like that kink very much. I'm okay with this daddy kink, but not specifically like a BDSM like daddy dom little girl kink. This one just wasn't good. It was cringy, which is so sad because I love Golden Angel, like I really do. Steam was just cringy. This 2 stars because it just felt not sexy. Cringy. Very cringy. Another one that again I just didn't really love, and that is Just My Type by Lucy Bexley. I started this novella, like I've had this novella on my Kindle Unlimited for probably a year, because I remember adding it last Halloween. And this is a Sapphic vampire romance, which like sounds like everything I would love. Truly does, because I love Sapphic romances, I love vampire romances. Our heroine is a vampire, and our hero works at a college. Heroine, I believe, is a bio major, but specifically like she takes like the donated blood. I'm not sure. She works at the college. She's a scientist, and they end up having a romance. And it was just, I was bored. I was like insufferably bored, which is so weird because like I said, I love sapphic romances, love vampire romances. I thought this was going to be everything that I wanted, but every single time I would read it, I was just so I'm going to give this one a 2 stars as well. We're not ending the video really good, but we have read so many good novellas in this video, so I have hope. I have hope, and I will see you guys in the next clip. I just want to know when I will learn that Jessica Kane books are trash. No, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to trash anyone. No, fuck that. Her books are trash. Oh my God. Literally... I'm gonna need someone to send a wellness check to Miss Jessa. I'm gonna need someone just check on her, okay? Because I really feel like she's not doing well, because her heroes are fucking deranged. So we read a Jessica Kane novella. Will I ever learn? No. Will I probably read like everything she's ever in? Probably. So I read a Jessica Kane novella, and it is called As If I Wouldn't Fall. This one is one of her new adult ones, meaning that the characters are both in high school and they're the same age. A lot of her books tend to be like massive age gaps, but this one is like one of her new adult ones, which I tend to like, and I had very good hopes. Let me start this off by saying I gave this book 1 star. I would give it 0 stars, but I had to give it some type of rating on Goodreads. 1 star. When I started this book, I was texting my friends. I was like, why do I kind of like this? The hero is kind of crazy, but kind of into it. You know, like I was into it. I was into it. It turned real quick. Let's talk about the plot. It has a lot of, you know, Jessica Kane things. Okay, it's following a very similar formula of a possessive alpha hero, a super innocent virgin heroine. There's a zaddy kink, very spicy, a little bit of a breeding kink, all those things that we love and adore. But it's a little intense, guys. So our characters go to school together, and our hero is kind of like a stalker, kind of, sort of. He like follows her around school. Car breaks down, so our hero owns a auto body shop, a garage shop, whatever it's called. He's a mechanic, and she ends up taking her car to him because her car breaks down. And of course he's like, listen, I'm obsessed with you. Of course I'll do anything for you. And then starts their very tumultuous, crazy, intense, very possessive, very toxic relationship. I do a spoiler, so if you plan on reading this novella, just fast forward a bit, because I need to talk about where it took a turn, because I've never read anything like this in my entire fucking life, okay? Our hero, you know, all I'm gonna say is 2 words. 2 words, and you guys are gonna know why this book took a turn. Dick tattoo. Our hero had our heroine's name tattooed on both sides. Not just one, both sides of his girth. Before even meeting or talking to her. Well, no, he met her. He knew who she was because he was like stalking her. But before literally even talking to her, got his junk tattooed. What the fuck? What? Yeah, our hero went from being like super possessive and kind of like cute, like you're a little possessive but I'm kind of into this, to absolutely deranged. And our heroine was no better. I mean, maybe they were good for each other because they were both deranged and crazy and absolutely fucking bonkers, but I'm not, I literally could not see past it. I'm just like, how painful would that be? And then I was like, is that a thing? Do people do this? I Googled it. Don't Google that. Don't Google that, babe. Don't do that to yourself. So yeah, it is a thing. People actually get their tattooed. And I learned that's just not my kink, okay? I'm not into it. 1 star. 1 star. We are not ending this week or month of novellas strongly, are we? We have some low ratings. I did skip a couple days because everything was so busy, so that's why my clips are a little chaotic, but we're still getting like 30 novellas, okay? I'm sticking to this, okay? I will see you guys in my next video. I love you so much. Bye! Greetings, and what is up with my hair? Good lord. So, the reddish, auburnish hair, did not last. It didn't. It wasn't the color I wanted. I tried to straighten my hair today. I haven't had my hair straight in over like a year, maybe. And it's just not, it's not looking good, guys. Moving forward, moving on. I'm here for my last update. We fucking did it, guys. We read 30 novellas, a novella a day for a whole month, and I'm like kind of proud of myself. Like, I did the damn thing. I'll have one more clip after this to do a roundup talking about my like all-time favorite ones that I recommend, and then some that were like really not that great. Like, I'll do an overall roundup. I'm going to talk about the last 3 books that I read for this video. Talking about book 28. I wasn't very good at counting for you guys because my clips were just so sporadic, but I'm talking about book 28 right now, and I needed a break. I did. Guys, reading a novella every single day, even though they're shorter, is difficult because I'm not only am I reading, but I'm also filming and trying to write reviews, so I needed a little bit of a break. I did. And recently I followed some of my favorite authors on Patreon, and Patreon's a really cool platform that authors, content creators, artists can use to earn additional income and also give like exclusive content to the people who love them. So a lot of authors will do like special novellas or special subscriptions through their Patreon, and Sophie Lark has a Patreon, and I followed it because I love Sophie Lark with my whole heart, body, and soul. I have a tattoo right here because of one of her books. Like, I love her to pieces, so of course I'm gonna follow her Patreon. She's writing a novella or short story installment that is exclusive to her Patreon. So of course, because it's exclusive to the Patreon, I'm not going to talk about it too much because it's exclusive. And that she has on her Patreon, again, I don't want to give spoilers because she charges for a reason, but it's called Kitten, and guys, this is kind of sexy. So our heroine is going through a rough time. She needs some money, and she ends up meeting someone who is a professional escort, and she asks her friend to put in a referral for her. Again, she's like a broke college student, struggles with a lot of mental illness, and has gotten fired from her last job, and she just needs some money, but also something that like brings her fulfillment and happiness as well. And she ends up meeting a wealthy gentleman who is paying her to pretend to be a cat. And I've never really explored the kink of like pet play or BDSM submissive in that dynamic before, like furry, pet play, all that stuff. Never thought it would be sexy for me personally, not judging, but for like me personally, I never would seek out those type of books, but this is amazing. I love it. It was kind of like, I wouldn't say a cheat because it's not, but it's not like a finished novella, and it's only available through Patreon, but it's what I read, okay? I needed a break, and I needed something different, and that's what it gave me. So, moving on to the last two books that I read, and they were by the same author, and that is Mariana Vivancos. I've talked about her at length in this video. So the first one I read is Fresh Ice. This is the first book in the Alpha Omega Hockey series, and it is in Omegaverse, obviously. Kind of a cheat as well because it's actually a longer novella. It's a little over 200 pages. I consider novellas under 200 pages, like slightly over 100 pages. But you know what? There are some fantasy books, there are some historicals that are like 500, 600 pages. So 200 pages, that's pretty short. It's in my wheelhouse. It's kind of like the length that I prefer. This book follows Alonzo and Levi, and they're both hired to play professional hockey. They're both rookies, but they get hired together, and they are kind of like catapulted. I don't know. They're both like thrusted into fame at the same time, and they're playing for a team that has not had the best winning streak, so a lot of the team's hope is on them, which is very stressful, and they end up living together as well. Well, our hero Alonzo is an Omega, and if you guys haven't read Omegaverse, there is a lot of stereotypes and misogyny that comes with alphas and omegas. Alphas are the more dominant ones, and then omegas are seen as like the weaker species. Who's made it to professional hockey has been an alpha, and he is secretly an omega, and he's been taking suppressants and hiding the fact that he is an omega the entire time, and he's like terrified, obviously, that somebody is going to find out. Kind of becomes like a friends to lovers romance because they live together, they spend a lot of time together. Come into a situation where the alpha Levi notices that the omega Alfonso is an omega, so he's kind of like keeping that secret for him, and they end up kind of trusting each other. A sweet romance. Oh my gosh, our sweet baby hero. Love him so much. Like, just everything that he's been through being an omega in like an alpha dominated industry, and he was so strong. His father was both like mentally, emotionally, physically abusive, so he's not used to accepting love, and it was just so sweet to see like him gain confidence in himself but also fall in love with his best friend at the same time. And the alpha in this book is such a cinnamon roll. This book was so sex positive, just gorgeous, like gorgeous. Probably one of the best Omegaverses I've read in a long time. If you're not familiar with Omegaverse, I think this is a great start, wonderful place to start. Okay, actually, with that said, this next book, I didn't like it at first. Okay, so this next book is called Honeythorn, and this is the first book in the Honeythorn series, which is another Alpha Omega series. So our heroes are set up into an arranged marriage, and it's a political marriage. They come from like 2 different kingdoms, and they have agreed to the arranged marriage to unite the kingdoms. Our hero, the Omega, ends up moving to his Alpha's kingdom, which is very cold. He's away from all of his family, but this is the agreement that they had. Gets there, his Alpha is just as cold as the weather, and it is very obvious that he has no intention of marrying for love, that this is definitely an obligation and duty, not something that he wants. So our Omega like goes through it in the very beginning of this book. He is experiencing the loss of a neglected bond, which could be very painful in Omega to an Omega, especially when they're going through their heats. They need their alpha, they need their bond. Yeah, it's it's angsty and sad in the beginning. Like throughout the whole beginning of the book, I was messaging my friend Desiree because she had read this book as well, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, where's the happiness? Like, I'm dying inside. But you learn why our alpha is so cold, like trauma in his past, which I won't go into because it will kind of ruin the book for you. But they have a very slow burn romance, and our alpha gets a very slow, gradual redemption. And to be honest, when I first started this book, I was like, how did she let me down right now? I felt let down. I thought I was going to give it 1 or 2 stars. And then as the book progressed, it just became more and more beautiful. Everything kind of made sense. The redemption was beautiful. The way our characters fell in love with each other despite all the mistakes they made in the past was beautiful. It was just a really beautiful book. It's real beautiful, and I gave it 5 stars. Although I did not think I was going to give it 5 stars in the beginning, so... That's the last book we read. There we go. Those are my updates. Those are the books. I will update you guys in my last clip tomorrow. We're done. We are done. I literally, guys, this has been such a fun project, and it's been a struggle. I didn't think it was going to be a struggle because I read so many novellas naturally, but I did have a very busy month. A lot happened in my personal life, at work. I have my notes. Okay, I have my notes. This video, we completed 30 novellas, and I'm currently reading 1 right now, but we're only going to talk about the 30. Looking at like the breakdown of all the books that I read, we actually had more 5 stars than anything else. So that's amazing that I was able to find so many great novellas. We had 3 1 stars, 4 2 stars, 4 3 stars, 5 4 stars, and 14 5 stars. I don't feel like I give 5 stars lightly. 3-star rating is still a very good rating for me. A 4-star, amazing rating for me. 5-star is like, I highly recommend, some of my favorite novellas. And the fact that we had 14 in this 1 month, I'm so happy. Now I'm going to be doing a quick wrap up. I'm going to be first talking about some books that I hated and I do not recommend, and I probably will not revisit these authors again. And then to end the video on a high note, I will talk about some of my all-time favorite books in this video, ones that I think you should really read. 1-star books. We only had 3, so I'll talk about the 3 real quick. Jessica Kane! Ugh! I don't know why I try. I really don't. Her books have consistently gotten worse in my opinion. I used to be an enormous Jessica Kane fan. I would read everything that she's ever written. I have read pretty much everything she's ever written, her entire backlist, and there was a time where I feel like she had reached her peak and all of her books were so amazing. They were 5 stars and I recommended her wholeheartedly. Yes, her books were steamy. Yes, they were a little taboo with the age gap and wild and bonkers, but they were good. They were just like fun, steamy times. Now I feel like her books are just toxic. I feel like her heroes are deranged. Some of her books, her heroes have even been suicidal, and just so many trigger warnings. There's truly nothing romantic about the last few novellas I've read from her. Prior to this video, I've felt this way about her for a long time. I only read 2 of her novellas in this video, and I gave both of them 1 star. So the first one is Property of Pops. This speaks for itself. It is a romance with her best friend's grandpa. The next one that I read was As If I Would Fall. I gave this 1 star as well. It wasn't anything romantic about this book. Our characters really spent no time together, and they were madly, deeply obsessed with each other before they had even spoken. It just felt very unrealistic. It just felt like they were toxic for one another. I didn't enjoy it. The steamy scenes were very cringy and I didn't love. Another 1 star we gave was Pumpkin Spice and Body on Ice by Willow Monroe, and I just thought that the commentary in this book was really disgusting. The lack of body positivity was shocking, actually. A lot of fat shaming, slut shaming. Beyond that, the murder itself didn't make sense. It didn't feel satisfying, and I could really never see myself recommending this author or even picking up another one of her books, as harsh as that sounds. Let's end the video on a good note and we'll talk about some standout books. I really think the standout authors were Casey Mint and Mariana Vivancos. I don't think that's any secret. I have raved and raved about both authors this entire video. Total, I read 4 Casey Mint books, but I'm going to talk about 2 that I think were the standouts, and that is Dirty Rocker. This is a rock star age gap romance. Our heroine ends up following a rock star band that her father is in. She's never been close to her father, and she thought like this was going to be their bonding time. Well, it wasn't. Her father's not that great of a guy, but she ends up falling for her father's best friend, who is the lead guitarist, bassman, I forget what instrument apartment he plays, and they end up having an age gap taboo romance, and it is so good. It is so good. The praise kink, it's good. The next one that I really liked is Silver Fox, and this is another age gap taboo romance with a praise kink. Beautiful, wonderful, sweet, and steamy. Queen of the Van Coast. Ah, what a joy. If anything were to come out this video, it would be please read her books. Please read her books. They're sweepingly romantic, beautifully written, unlike anything I've ever read before, and they're novellas. She packs such emotion and beauty and care and romance into her books, and it's just like a tiny little novella. Perfect. If I were to find a perfect novella author, she would be it. Her author bio, she says a queer person writing queer romances, and I love that. A lot of her characters are bisexual, which I can relate to, and I love seeing that representation, and I just adore her books. I read six of her books in this video, and I gave all of them 5 stars. She's amazing. Like, I'm gonna do a whole dedicated video to her because I don't think I can express how beautiful her books are. I have to talk about 3 because although I gave all of them 5 stars, I feel like these 3 were the standouts. And the first one is Crybaby. This one was the first one that I picked up and kind of like catapulted me into all of her backlist. And this one is a friends to lovers romance, and it is hilarious. Like, this book made me laugh and cry at the same time. It was the best friends to lovers romance I've ever read. Next one is A Fresh Ice, which was one of the most recent ones we read, and it was an Omegaverse and a hockey romance, and also kind of friends to lovers. She does love friends to lovers romances. And the next one is the one that I would recommend above all else. Above all else. I can't talk today. If I were to recommend one book in this entire video, if I were to say what was the best novella I've ever read, it would be Divine River. I don't think that I can fully describe the beauty that is in this book. Thinking about it already makes me want to cry because it was the perfect balance of romance, friendship, and our characters' personal development. Seeing our character become confident in himself, his wants, his desires. You could see him fall in love with himself, but also fall in love with our other hero who is his best friend. And it is beautiful, unique, just sweepingly romantic. Like, I can't put into words. This book is perfect. Even if I were comparing it to a full-length book, it would hold up. It's one of my favorite books of all time. Just wow. Wow. It's so good. Okay, that is it. I've been talking to you guys for a long time. I need to go and edit this video. It's going to be a nightmare. I have like a bajillion clips that I need to edit. Thank you for making it this far. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. If you guys would like to see a video like this in the future, let me know and I would love to do it again. As always, thank you for taking time out of your day to spend time with me. It means the world to me. I hope you guys are all staying happy and healthy, and I will see you in my next video.